But I think the main things is at the end of the day, volleyball is volleyball. It's in the same 9x9 court, and the rules are the same. So we. Is that on the back of your shirt?
Yeah, it's on the back of the shirt.
You did. A little free shout out for you. And it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the net. You need to still execute to the best of your ability if you want a chance to win.
You know what, Rob? One day we're going to need to get a better soundbite so I don't sound like an absolute doofus whenever we start the show. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 99 best 80 square meters of volleyball on the internet. My name is Everett Delorme, joined as always by my good buddy from the South, Mr. Rob St. Clair in Chi-Town. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, we're all equals here. It has been an exciting week of volleyball. We're really getting into the nitty-gritty of the season. Champions League is ramping up. CEV Cup is ramping up. League play is starting to get spicy as those playoff races get down to the wire, and we're here to talk about it. First and foremost, Rob, how you doing today? Have you recovered from the wedding over the weekend?
I'm wonderful, thank you. Yes, I've recovered to the best of my ability. I did get to watch a little bit of volleyball over the weekend, which was great. And you're absolutely right. This is a crazy time of the season. It's one of the most fun, really, because there's so much going on. There's a lot that we have to catch on in the CEV, and all through the CEV tournaments. So do you want to start there?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to start with the women or the men?
Let's
in
do
Champions
Women's
League?
Champions League first.
All right. Yes, there was one match today in the Women's Champions League. We have the first set of playoff matches going down right now. That first one was the Chemic Police against Fenerbahce, and that was a 3-set barn burner in Poland. Fenerbahce was able to take it, putting themselves in the driver's seat in that series, but that one's got a serious golden set potential. We've also got VakifBank against Lube going down tomorrow, and then Rejov against Le Canet from France going down on Thursday. So they spread it out a little bit for us.
They did spread it out a little bit.
How nice of them, so that we can watch one game per day. But today's match was a barn burner. Arena Friedrichshafen 25 points for Fenerbahce, 26 for Melissa Vargas. And Fenerbahce is really looking really good right now with the addition of Melissa Vargas on the right side, and they're looking dangerous.
I'm not convinced.
No?
I am not convinced. So this was a really good match, good 5-setter. Fenerbahce just rolled in the first set, and I thought it was going to be a quick 3-dong, no problem. But Polica got a really clutch block on Vargas in overtime in the second set, made it competitive. It was really good after that. I'm still not convinced by Fenerbahce. I still don't think that they. So as we look at the bracket here, as the bracket is set for the first time since we had those makeup matches last week that we'll talk about, the winner of Fenerbahce Police plays Conegliano. Neither of those teams is beating Conegliano. I don't think it's going to matter. Fenerbahce is not polished enough to beat Conegliano.
Okay, I could see that.
Position through position, area of game compared to area of game. Conegliano does not lose that particular matchup in any category. And I like Fenerbahce. I still think their outside hitter position is a little bit uncertain. I'm curious if Anna Cristina is going to continue to start, or if Maliha Ismailulu, I don't know what her married name is now, but they've got some outside hitter options. They've got good middle blocker play. Arena Fenerbahce is really good. I think the only way that Fenerbahce stands a chance against Conegliano in the next round is if they serve the lights out, and that's possible. Fenerbahce with Fenerbahce is very, very scary, and I think they'll get past Police, no problem. But I still don't consider Fenerbahce a contender to win the Champions League.
Okay, that's fair, but I could see them just taking on a Conegliano in a 2-match scenario, maybe in a golden set. You're gonna have to go off from the baseline, and they're gonna have to dominate blocking wise. But I think you're right. Polished wise, I don't know if they're polished. I think Conegliano is hands down the most polished team in women's volleyball right now.
That I agree with. Yeah.
So they've just been absolutely outstanding. We saw them at the World Club Championships. We've seen them in the Lega Volley Femminili. So yeah, they're absolutely outstanding. Tomorrow though, VakifBank against Lube. VakifBank has been struggling of late. Are we seeing that as any potential upsets there?
Maybe. So that's it. It's good to talk about that series. It starts tomorrow, Fenerbahce versus Łódź, in context of last week, because like we talked about on last week's show, there were two matches that still needed to be made up at the end of the pool play phase because they were supposed to take place in Turkey. The earthquake displaced that, obviously. So the matches that we had to make up were Fenerbahce beating Łódź 3-0 and VakifBank losing to Novara 3-1. And so those two losers of those two matches now match up in the playoff series. So VakifBank fails to win their pool. They go 4-2. They have the one loss to Novara, and then they have the loss to, was it Potsdam? That one 5-setter that they lost at home.
They lost to Potsdam as well. Yeah, you're right.
So I'm unsure about what I think about VakifBank right now, because I think that there's a chance that they were trying to be a little too cute and manipulating the bracket a little bit too much against Novara.
Okay,
I think there's a chance that they were trying to play some 4D chess or some garbage, and now they're in. They actually do kind of have a better draw because assuming they beat Łódź, which I think they're talented enough to do, they would get Malonza in the quarterfinal, which is a winnable matchup. But then they're on the same side of the bracket as you see there as Conegliano. And I guess like if you're a team like VakifBank, you're gonna have to see either Conegliano or ZAKSA in all likelihood in one of the semifinals. So you might as well give yourself an easier quarterfinal series. I think that's kind of what was going on here. It wasn't with lineup choices so much. Just like watching that VakifBank Novara match last week, it just didn't look like VakifBank cared. It didn't look like they had any sense of urgency. And
I mean, I think that is almost to be expected, given on what's going on in their country at the moment.
True.
And given that I think a lot of those players in that team in general is probably not looking at volleyball as being, their top priority right now. But, one thing to point out as well, too, is that this is more or less a rusty team. This is a team that probably hasn't been training all of that much. This is a team that hasn't been competing, right? We haven't seen any Superlega League matches since prior to the earthquake, understandably so. So that's why I'm kind of looking at this like if Łódź has a time to strike, it would be now.
That is well said, and yeah, it's a great point that the Turkish league has been indefinitely postponed. I'd like the next matches that are even on the schedule are not till next weekend, and that's a huge question mark at this point, I think. So yeah, VakifBank is a little bit rusty. I wonder where they're training, kind of what their day-to-day has been like, and if there were a chance for a team out of Poland like Łódź to pounce, it would be then. But Łódź got smoked by Fenerbahce in a pretty important match last week, and I don't think they just have the horses to roll with VakifBank in a 2-match series. Maybe they can steal one at home, but and maybe tomorrow, maybe that's the one. I wonder where that match is. Let's see.
It's gonna have to be in Łódź, because it's not being played. It's not going to be played in Turkey, as we know, because there's nothing going on in Turkey. Rob, now looking forward to the match on Thursday. We've got Volleyball Le Canet taking on the developers Rejav. This one is interesting. Le Canet is an interesting team right now, filled with Russians.
Right.
It's you've just got a whole bunch of people who are running away from the Russian Superlega. They find themselves in France. Do we think they have a chance against what is currently the top team from the Torn Liga?
Definitely. I think that series is going to be maybe even the most competitive of the three. I think that Fenerbahce will take care of whoever they beat today, Police. I think they'll take care of them next leg, no problem. I think the VakifBank is going to take care of Łódź, no problem. The one I see with the most golden set potential is this one, Le Canet versus Rzeszów, and unfortunately, the winner has to play the number 1 seed overall, and Tiana Boskovic and ZAKSA, which is probably not going to go well for either one. But we've seen Le Canet play good volleyball. We've seen, because they're so Russian dominated, and Rzeszów is a team that seems to always kind of be greater than the sum of its parts, and they have Champions League experience. Like, remember last year they actually beat VakifBank in a leg of a bracket of like a 2-match bracket series before losing the next one. So that team has been there before. Le Canet has not, although they maybe have a little bit higher of a ceiling. I'm actually really looking forward to this series.
Interestingly enough, Le Canet is one of those teams that's doing well in Champions League, but not so well domestically. They're sitting in 6th right now in the Liga Féminin with only 39 points. Yeah, 13-7.
And they make it out of their pool in Champions League, but
they make it out of their pool. You know, sometimes we see that. Sometimes we see teams who do well in Champions League and not so well domestically, or the other way around. And I mean, hey, we're going to talk about Timothée Carl and on his Berlin squad. That's a player who's nowhere to be found when he plays in the Bundesliga, and yet can drop 21 points in a 5-setter in the Champions League, right? So yeah, what are we expecting? We're expecting Rezhov to take that one. Is that one in Poland we saw?
Let's see. That one's in France.
That
one is in France on Thursday. VakifBank is at Łódź tomorrow. Let's see. Both those matches are at 2 p.m. Eastern the next 2 days. So they are doing us a favor and spreading out Champions League this week a little bit with no men's Champions League for a couple weeks. Kind of all focus on those couple matches. But we've also got CEV Cup, Challenge Cup, all that. It's every week is a big week for the CEV from here on out.
And it does look like both of those matches are going to be available for free on YouTube.
They'll definitely turn them members only when they start. They usually like activate the links and just to get them out there and then turn them into members only. That's what they did today with the Police game. You'll probably have to pick up the YouTube membership for CEV or Eurovolley TV, but join the Discord. Obviously, we'll make sure you know where to watch these things.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on to the Men's Champions League. Or is there anything else? No, we move on to the men, where we now know what the quarterfinal results or the quarterfinal bracket is going to be. ZAKSA wins, Berlin wins, Friedrichshafen wins. Where do we want to start? I kind of want to start with the ZAKSA versus Everett, a game that was an interesting one. And Alexander Slivka was absolutely unreal. ZAKSA winning. Won the first, lost the second, won the third, and all they needed to win was those first 2 sets. And then we saw the benches come on for both teams. But Slivka was unconscious in the first 3 sets. He had 17 points, 16 for 25, leading ZAKSA to the win in this one. Even though Zavirci did end up winning the game in 5, it didn't matter as soon as ZAKSA won that second set.
Yeah, Slivka was on another level that match. She was absolutely phenomenal. Supported decently by the rest of the cast, but he outplayed Uros Kovacevic in 2 players that play a very similar style. He significantly outplayed Uros Kovacevic head-to-head. 16 for 25 with 1 error is absolutely amazing for a player of that play style. Kovacevic, conversely, 10 for 20 with 5 errors. ZAKSA was way better prepared to defend against Kovacevic than Zavirce was prepared to defend against Slivka. That was my biggest takeaway. It's weird that you see that player, that they're very similar. You see that very similar player, that they play kind of different roles in the 2 teams, but their play styles are as close as they can be, and they're both very unique. You see it every day in practice. ZAKSA was so much better prepared.
Yeah, but I think you said it right themselves. They play different roles. You're not expecting Slivka to have that type of game. You're expecting Uros Kovacevic to have that type of game, right? But you know, when you look at that ZAKSA lineup, you're like, hey, well, Bednors can really hurt us, or Kaczmarek on the right side. Slivka isn't necessarily the guy that you're gonna see to really put up a lot of points. But it really shows you how deep Poland is. Once again, I feel like we kind of harp on this a lot, not harp, but like we kind of bring light to how good Poland is so often, but it's so damn true. Like you have Slivka, who's just in so many other terms, like just another guy. Like imagine if one of the first guys off your bench, or maybe even the 4th guy off your bench, depending on where you want to put Bednors or whoever else, was as good as Alexander Slivka. Like it's just unreal. But this ZAKSA team, man, they're a team that I was kind of writing off at the beginning of the season, and they are picking up some steam, especially in Champions League. They've looked a little iffy at times in the Plusliga, but in Champions League, they're going to be looking really good. And if you look at who they're going to be playing against in the next round, we get year number 3 of Trentino versus ZAKSA, this time in the quarterfinals, and Trentino's coming off an odd 5-setter against Milano. So that's a team that's kind of been a little rocky for Trentino standards.
Well, Trentino's going to go straight from this weekend's Italian Cup, and ZAKSA is going to go into this weekend's Polish Cup, and then they'll see each other in Champions League very shortly thereafter. You got to remember, they've already seen each other twice this year. That's going to be a rematch
True.
from pools. And those
Absolutely.
pool matches, especially the last one, were absolutely amazing. So
Very
we can never get enough of ZAKSA versus Trentino. Those teams
No.
know each other extremely well. So that's going to be a great quarterfinal. That same side of the bracket has Perugia, of course, everybody's picked to win the entire tournament, against Berlin. You want to talk about that Berlin match? Berlin winning a one-match do-or-die series against Bank at home. Another five-setter.
Another five-setter. It was spicy.
Yeah.
I really would. And once again, I was really excited for this matchup. As I said, I thought these teams matched up really, really well. But as we talked about it just a little bit ago, Simotse Carl was lights out in this one. 16 kills, 3 aces, 2 blocks, and Berlin taking it in 5 at home.
Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. Yes. Not gonna matter, unfortunately. They're gonna go play Perugia. They're gonna get stomped, and I do kind of feel bad for Bank and all the Turkish teams have been through. I think they got hurt the most in the way that things ended up being reformatted. Not to even get to play a second leg of that series was a bummer, but although they got it to 5, the 5th set was never in doubt. Berlin jumped out early in the 5th, and Wouter Termont made a couple late errors, and it was over. It was cool to see Osmani Juantorena.
He looked good.
It did look good.
He looked
16
good.
For 26.
16 for 26. Absolutely. Reception, not so good.
No.
39% positive, only 7% perfect. He had got ace twice, and he held a lot of the load with 28 targets on the day. But the libero for Zerat Bankazi, Bayraktar, is that how you pronounce it?
Yep,
man, only 26% positive and 19% perfect. He got aced 6 times, and that to me is really where you saw, like, reception wise, 12 aces for Berlin as for only 6 against Zerat Bank. That was a tough one.
Yeah, you can't get ace 6 times and pass less than 30% positive if you're a starting libero in the Champions League. You're just going to lose at that point. That is not an acceptable stat line.
Yeah, no, not at all. I'm just waiting for Blair Lambert to give us a little tidbit here. He's at Berlin has done 2 things that Halkbank hasn't: beat Zavierci twice and beat Zerat Bankazi, which is very interesting because Halkbank, when you look at, like, in the scope of the Champions League, has looked to be like the strongest of the Turkish teams.
And I still would call that to be the case. Although, I mean, like you just said about Lukane on the women's side, what happens in the domestic league doesn't always translate to what happens in Champions League, even if it's the same guys. There's just a different sort of ethos around it. Also, with no foreigner limits, especially a team like a Turkish team has more flexibility. So Zerat Bank is out. So there's only one Turkish team remaining in the final 8 on the men's side. And I honestly kind of want to pick Halkbank Ankara to beat Lube Nova. I could easily see them winning that series.
Blair, are you sure about this? Because Halkbank is 17-1 right now in the Efler Ligi. So we might have to check into that.
Halkbank's really good. I think
Halkbank is really good.
I think is really good.
Yeah.
And moving down the quarterfinals, we got Halkbank versus Lube. We've already known about that one. That's the 4 versus 5 seeds overall, but that one's going to be really fun. And then Shemsky, right? Shemsky versus Friedrichshafen is the last one. Another pool rematch. Friedrichshafen only needed 2 sets to beat Tours or to advance past them. They actually went down 2-0. Tours went up 2-0, and then completely fell asleep at the wheel, allowed themselves to get reverse swept to get eliminated from the tournament. So that was kind of a bummer.
Oh, that is a bummer, man. Tours had a little bit of a fighting spirit. Abuba with 25 points in there, but Friedrichshafen, you're really starting to see the Lebedew influence there. We have 3 players in double digits on this one for Friedrichshafen. So, damn. But my boy Andre Brown, 7 for 10 in the middle.
Yep,
they got to give him more swings, man. Got to give him more swings.
He was great. There were actually only 2. I called this game. I called the whole series. Friedrichshafen only had 2 healthy middles, and that's all they needed. They were just fine. Yeah, for Tours, Abuba was unbelievable in the first set, and it was actually the exact same way in the match last week where they got 3-donked. Abuba was unbelievable in the first set and then not nearly as good the rest of the match. Towards offense was pretty one-dimensional, and again they had their backup setter in. So their starting setter, this Zelko Choric character, Bosnian guy, could only play the backcourt. He came in a couple times in the double sub for the 6-2. He couldn't block, so he couldn't play much past that. And backup setter, it's difficult to get past that. So
I kind of miss Abuba in the Superlega. You know, we saw him when Avibo had that fantastic season 2 years ago, and it was him and DeFalco and
Thibaut Rossard and
Chinyeze, and they just had like such a good squad that worked so well together. And what they finished like 4th in the regular season. Now they're relegated. I do miss Abuba. Do we think Abuba deserves a shot on the Brazilian national team?
No, he's far too error prone. He is far too error prone. I think his attacking game is pretty one-dimensional. He's big and he's physical, but I think especially at the national team level, other teams would block and eat him alive defensively. So he's also not young. I think he's in his 30s.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I think that's about it for the Men's Champions League. We've got a few weeks off until we see the start of the quarterfinals, correct?
Right. I think we've got 2 weeks off. So yeah, no games this week or next week. I think like the March 7th ballpark is when Men's Champions League comes back. Might even be 3 weeks off. So yeah, just keep those quarterfinals in the back of your mind. Yeah, those are scheduled. So they comes back on Wednesday the 7th, and then the second legs are the following week. There's going to be some good games in there, but we'll talk about that when the series come a little closer.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move on to the CEV Cup. We're already talking about the men's. So let's just stay on that side right now. We've got a few things that are wrapping up. Can you explain to me how Scrub Belchatov won 3-0 today, and yet Karlovarsko is still advancing? Was there a golden set for that?
No, Karlovarsko's not advancing. Skra beat him. Skra's moving forward. Yeah, Skra. I can't remember the score of the first match. It might have been Skra. Might have beat him.
Yeah, I thought it was a 5 setter. Okay, well, notes are just wrong here.
Skra won 3-0. So that one, no real drama there. Modena beat Ljubljana 3-0 in the second leg. Not a whole lot of drama there. That game wasn't even close. The Skra, at least the set scores were a little closer. Where the drama really shows up here is the bottom of that bracket. There were 2 golden sets. Finally we get some golden set action. And they were both ridiculous. Piacenza over Montpellier. We talked about Piacenza getting upset by Montpellier on the road in the first leg. They come back and win. I think the golden set was like 15-6.
Yeah, 15-7 is here on this stat sheet. And man, Yuri Romano, 13 for 20 attacking. That is absolutely unreal. He had 2 blocks and 6 aces.
Whoa.
6, and man, but that's classic Romano, right? Sorry. Like when you need a big game from Yuri Romano, he shows up.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what he was in this one. That's unreal from the baseline. 6 aces and only 2 errors. And you know what? When he's serving like that and the rest of the team is going, it's going to be hard to stop.
And Robert Landy Simone was good. Yoani Leal was good enough. This was before Leal hurt his ankle in the Superlega this over the weekend, which we'll certainly talk about. But yeah, Piacenza figured it out. They played terribly on the road in the leg before. They won the match 3-0. They won the golden set 15-7. It was not all that dramatic as far as golden sets go. The one that was dramatic was the last quarterfinal that we got to talk about. The all-Belgian match, NAC Roeselare versus Maaseik. Maaseik wins the second leg 3-0, 25-23, 28-26, 28-26. So, like, crazy competitive, but it was a 3-0 to force a golden set. Then in the golden set, and somebody posted this video in the Discord, and my jaw was on the floor watching it. It was one of the craziest plays I've ever seen to win a match or to win a series. At 16-15 in the golden set, Roeselare had a swing. Roeselare was serving like golden set point to advance 16-15. They slowed down a ball on the block. They got a chance in transition. They set Pablo Kukartsev, who's this backup Argentinian opposite, who's their primary scorer. They set him out of the back row for the win. He gets stuff blocked, but it bounces off his shoulder It goes over the net, lands on the Mosaic side, golden set over. He didn't even know what had happened, but his teammates started celebrating. He got blocked, went off his shoulder, and landed on the other side of the net to score. I sent Everett the video right before the show. Your reactions were similar to mine. It was one of the craziest plays to clinch a match or a golden set that I've ever seen.
Yeah, that is absolutely unreal. And it's really too bad because Mosaic was having you were having an all-time match by Farah Riegers on the other side for Mosaic. 30 points. 30 points in what is like technically 4 sets.
Yeah.
But realistically only 3.5 because one of them went to 15. 24 for 48, 2 blocks, and once again 6 aces. 4 aces and 6 airs. That's really too bad. Just has an all-time performance and ends up losing by the shoulder of Kirkaitsev. That is nuts.
Ridiculous play. Go look it up if you haven't seen it. Yeah, Ferry Reggers is a name I've heard of only because Dan Manili pointed him out years ago as like a good Belgian prospect, but I've never actually really seen him play. So nice numbers.
He's
but
2003, so he's young. He's 20 years old right now.
Real young.
If that, 19 or 20. So I mean, hey, maybe Belgium's got some nice young prospects coming up. I mean, they've had Sam Deroux just on his own for so long. So maybe Belgium's got someone there. And then there we've got the why am I stuttering? The bracket. There we go.
Yeah, so we've got the bracket. It's not up to date. I was digging through every CEV platform I can find, trying to find an updated bracket.
In a few days. It's fine.
Of course, it was nowhere to be found. But the semifinals for CEV Cup start the same week as Champions League, so there's a couple weeks. Rusolari versus Piacenza and Modena versus Skra Belkotov. Probably going to be an all-Italian final, we think, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at how things are going up, Skra really not having that great of a year. I mean, that is going to be 2 of the most legendary clubs going toe to toe. So you know that there's going to be a lot of pride at heart. But Skra just not up to snuff this year. I mean, hey, what was it, like 20 points from Antanasievich? Like, I don't think we've seen that at all from him in the Plus Liga this year because Skra's way outside of the playoff race, and Piacenza has been an up and down team as well. So. And now that Leal is injured and possibly out for the rest of the season, I'm not entirely sure, but still going to be playing against NAC Roselaire. I'm not entirely sure that Roselaire has the chops to go up against Piacenza.
Yeah, I agree with that. So decent chance we see all Italian finals there. Same with CEV Cup, but switching over to the women's side. The women's side of CEV Cup is down to the final 8 teams. There's actually a bunch of these matches going on tomorrow, but there were 2 today, both including, in my opinion, really the only 2 contenders left in CEV Cup. That is Scandici beating Potsdam 3-0 and THY Istanbul beating Mulhouse from France also 3-0. Those 2 are on the same side of the bracket. It is very likely that we see THY versus Scandici in the semis. That will probably be it'll basically be the finals, but 1 round too early. Do you agree with that, Everett?
Oh yeah, fully. I mean, if you look at the rest of these teams, I don't think anyone really matches up. You've got the other Lodge team taking on Blaj from Romania, Olympiacos against Targoviste, another team from Romania. But this THY team is really, really good. I mean, if you look at it today, Kira Van Rijk was absolutely lights out, 20 for 29. She hit 69%, hitting percentage and efficiency. She didn't get blocked, had no errors. Got 2 blocks and 3 aces for 25 points
in 3 sets.
In 3 sets.
That's
I mean, man, that's what you can see from Kira Van Rijk sometimes. If she sees a team that's like not up to snuff against her, I mean, we saw it all the time in U Sports when she played for UBC, and then she finished with I think she was scoring like 6 points a set back when she was playing for UBC, and that's exactly what we're seeing here too. Just absolutely unreal. 25 points in 3 sets, 18, 15, and 16, all for THY. And I'm really excited for that THY versus Scandici matchup because I think it's going to be a good one. You're right. It's hands down going to be the final.
I think that's basically the final. Yeah, Scandici today, much closer against Potsdam. But Potsdam's good. I mean, we saw that upset versus VakifBank in Champions League before they dropped down, getting 3rd in their pool, and now they're in CEV Cup. Scandici's just more talented than Potsdam, and
Yeah.
And this was in Germany, so Scandici's going to get a pretty easy chance at home to win 2 sets in advance. But yeah, that semifinal series, if we get it, THY versus Scandici, is going to be the only thing really worth watching in this women's CEV Cup. But that series is going to be really good.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there was one thing too that Scandici is not going to be hampered by the foreigner rule as much
Great point.
as they are in Italy. But let me just pull up THY's roster here, because I think they're another team that is loaded with foreigners and has the ability to kind of go deeper into the bench.
Yeah, they've got 4 foreigners in the starting lineup, so Emily Maglio, Canadian girl, in the middle gets to play a lot more freely. Yeah, they've got 3 foreign wings. They've got Kiera Van Rijk, Maddie Kingdon, and Hannah Orthman from Germany.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be a really good one with 2 teams at full force, no foreigner rules limits whatsoever, and they're just going to be able to tee off on each other. So yeah, that one's going to be the only good one to watch from the CEV Women's Cup.
The beauty of CEV, no foreigner limits. It's fun to watch how teams adapt to that. All right, last but not least for the CEV, let's talk about Challenge Cup, Everett. And the only reason there's all that much to talk about here is because there was another golden set. It was an all Greek, very much a rivalry game. We previewed it either, I can't remember, last week or the week before, and you said correctly so, the crowds in Greece get
nuts,
rowdy. Absolutely insane. So much so, in fact, that before this match, when Olympiakos was playing Panathinaikos, who Panathinaikos won the first leg, Olympiakos had to win 3-0, 3-1, force a golden set, which they did. Before warm-ups of that game last week, the fans were so insane that they actually had to cancel the match, push it back a day, and then play it the next day behind closed doors. They couldn't even have fans in the stands because they were that ridiculous.
I kind of wish they would have had let them, just because who knows what would have happened. But yeah, that's what it really makes me like pine for the days when Greek volleyball was at the top, and you had like there was back in the days, like in the 2000s and 2010s, when Greek teams were competing at the Champions League level, right? And they are so passionate because, once again, especially for the Greek teams, like both Panathinaikos and Olympiakos, they're both sport clubs. They compete in soccer and in volleyball and in basketball, especially in handball. So these fans are supers of the club, and they have very much like community bases as well too within Athens. So it's too bad that we didn't get to see the fans there, but good big ups to your boy there, Salvador Hidalgo. And getting another win, and he's just going, man. He just keeps on going. Doesn't matter where he is. Yeah, absolutely. I did see some of the celebrations afterwards. He was posting them on Instagram, and the fans were outside waiting for them with flares and fireworks and everything. It was bananas.
Those people are nuts. Yeah, Olympiakos actually has some names on the roster. That's where like they were supposed to play a Champions League, if we remember, but they kind of chose not to make the necessary investment into their home arena to put it up to Champions League standards, and instead are playing in Challenge Cup. They've like Tonček Stern is there, Dragan Travica is there, Alan Pajenk is there. Like,
okay, so it's basically just like an old washed up team, you know, of like old washed up players. So eventually we're going to see Alexander Atanasievich there too. All right, Rob is pulling a me from a few weeks ago, just coughing on some water. Someone actually chirped me there. I was like, imagine choking on tea. And I was like, bro, come on, be nice.
Yep.
You okay? You okay over there, buddy?
Struggling over here.
All right. Well, I think this is a good time to jump on to our advertisement here. So if you want to look good like Rob and I, Rob is actually wearing merch this week, wearing the Spicy Volleyball t-shirt. I'm wearing, as always, the 9x9 squared. You can head over to thatvolleyball.store and use the code SPICY for 15% off of your entire order. I'm seeing a bunch of you leaving your carts just unattended. You're putting a bunch of things in the cart and then not buying it. Come on, guys, help us out. Make a little purchase. just help us out.
Let's do it.
And if you're a designer who's either a fan of ours or in the Discord, just let us know. Maybe help us design some shirts, because I don't know what I'm doing and I'm just copying other people's designs. So
there is some good stuff in there. That volleyball.store is full of great stuff. Wow. Yeah, I'm really struggling here. Yeah, use the code SPICY. We got the promo code for 15% off still.
And it looks like it sounds like Rob just ate a bunch of spicy food right now.
Right.
With his voice. One thing that we didn't mention about the Challenge Cup real quick is that they're going to take on Maccabi Tel Aviv of Israel in the finals. And I mean, remember when like Milano won a few years ago? Well, why is there no Italian teams or any good teams? Like, why are we getting Maccabi Tel Aviv sans Kyle Ensing? Because that's where he's played for the past few years against Olympiacos. So
no idea. I mean, it's Challenge Cup is Challenge Cup. It was only notable because the fans were so rowdy that they literally couldn't play the match.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on now to the men's Superlega, where it was a bit of a rowdy weekend. First and foremost, starting on Saturday at the bottom of your screen there, Toronto moving out of the relegation spot, beat Siena. I do have to say though, Siena's dark forest green jerseys with the red circle on them, I love them. They're beautiful. I would buy one of those in a heartbeat. But a few other, maybe not surprising, but a few big matches. Padova taking on Monza. Ryan Takahashi in that one, 21 points. Padova wins it in 5. Stephen Marr was also really good with 20 points. And I think he was like 63% attacking. Perugia, 3-0 over Cisterna. Who cares? Civitanova, Lube, pulling off another win in 2023. They're building up some steam now in the second half of the season. A 5-setter against Piacenza. Of course, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Leal hurts himself and his knee or his ankle.
I think it was his ankle. Yeah,
absolutely. And then Verona once again, 2 weeks in a row, they go up 2-0, lose the next 2, and then save themselves in the 5th. But that's 5 wins in a row for Verona. Maxim Saposhkov was absolutely unreal, especially early on. I think he had like 29 points in this one or something. We can check in a second. And then finally, Milano and Trentino going the distance. So many 5-setters, five setters this week. But Trentino staying up there, and I think they actually move into second place now with that win and the loss for Modena.
Not quite, because Modena still got them by a point. So yeah, let's look at the standings before we jump into the matches in more detail. Perugia, whatever. I want to direct your focus to the bottom. The bottom of the standings this weekend was huge because Padova got 2 points against Monza. Toronto got 2 points against Siena, but Siena got the 1. Also, Siena still has a match that they have to make up. They're going to play Lube Civitanova in a makeup game this Saturday, I believe.
Yeah.
Not that they're necessarily going to get any points, but they still, everybody else has only 2 matches left to play. Siena and Lube have 3. So the relegation race is very much on, but Padova getting that win, getting 2 points might just be good enough. And I mean, Taranto head-to-head was huge. It's probably going to come down to those 2 teams. Almost definitely. And Cisterna not doing themselves any favors. They're sort of settling into a little bit of a no man's land at 9th. They're 4 points behind Milano in 8th.
Yeah, absolutely. If we want to start with the Siena versus Toronto match, this one, Ibrahim Lawani, 29 points. This kid is legit. There's still some things in his game that aren't too polished. I mean, he got blocked 8 times, but he is legit. He was 23 for 49, got with 4 blocks and 2 aces. He was unreal. And Oleg Antonov, we're seeing this guy randomly look like it's 2013 every once in a while, and he was also good with 20 points. On the other side of the net, Van Garderen finally cooled down. He only had 7 points in 4.5 sets. He played all 4 and then came off the bench in the 5th. That's not great for a guy who's been scoring 25 plus over the past few ones. But Bartman is back. It took him a little while. If you watch this match, it took him a little while to get going, but man, oh man, did he look good later on, especially fourth, and fifth, he was almost automatic, and it just looked like he was picking and choosing, classic Bartman style. He went 18 for 40 with a block and an ace, but still not good enough for Siena, and they found themselves back into the basement.
Yep, they're in the basement by 1 point, and they're going to need a serious miracle to grab some points somewhere else. So Siena's got Lube in the makeup game, then they've got Verona, then they've got Monza. Maybe they grab a point or two. Toronto has Perugia, no way, and Milano, maybe.
Maybe. We'll see. I mean,
then
Milano's another up and down team.
Yeah, they are. Padova, who looks like they're safe right now, but you never know. Padova has Trentino, which is probably an L, and Piacenza, which could really go anyway. I mean, it's so hard to project the playoffs. It's so hard to project relegation, but even with just 2 matches remaining, because of how much of a roller coaster this Superlega season has been, it's just impossible to predict, and which just makes it awesome. So, yeah, Toronto, good job. You got the job done in a head-to-head match against the other team that might get relegated, but I don't think they're feeling safe just yet.
No, absolutely not. I don't think so either. Rob, for question for you, Piacenza versus Civitanova. Piacenza takes the first 2 sets. Not easily, but 18 and 22. Lube bounces back, and then in the fourth, we see Leal go down with the ankle injury. Ricine comes in, and you could tell he was cold because he was not good. He was 1 for 6 attacking. Did get 2 blocks, though, and one of them was absolutely massive. We posted that one on our story. It was huge. But does Piacenza pull that win off in 4 if Leal doesn't get injured?
Probably.
I think so too. Yeah,
they probably do. I can't remember exactly where in that 4th set it was that he got hurt. It was tight all the way through. It ended up 25-23 Lube. Yeah, good for Lube. They pull off the reverse sweep. I know Alex Nikolov was really good, but you've got to think that might be a different outcome if Leal doesn't go down.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Nikolov was all right. If you're looking at the stat sheet here, he was 12 for 32, got blocked twice, and with 2 errors. Overall, offensively, Lube was very average.
Yeah.
They hit 48% and got blocked 12 times and with 7 errors. So you can tell that there's still a little bit of discord on that roster right now for Lube, and I think for them to repeat and defend, what are they? They've won the past 2 championships.
That's not going to happen, and we all know that's not going to happen. Their run has come to an end. They're wildly inconsistent. I think that a good goal for Lube would be to beat Halkbank Ankara in Champions League. I think if they do that, get to the semifinals, they would probably call the season a success.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, Milano versus Trentino. Milano. Jean-Patrick was lights out in this one with 23 points, but Yuki Ishikawa also really good with 18. And then looking at Trentino, 21 for Matej Kaczynski, 20 for Alessandro Mitkalecto, and then 19 for Daniele Lavia. This team is just so good. They're just not as good down the middle as they used to be.
Yeah, still no Lisenats. That's a pretty big asterisk. He's one of the best in the world when he's healthy. Pedrassin's just not that much of a factor anymore at his age. Trentino has been playing really clean, with the exception of Matej Kaczynski. He's making way too many errors, and it's I would kind of like to see them go back to last year's orientation where they put Lavia opposite the setter and ran it like a 3 outside hitter thing. This year, it's been very traditional offensive volleyball with Kaczynski as the true opposite. And he's an ageless wonder. He's one of the best players we've ever seen, but he's not really an opposite. And the numbers haven't been overwhelmingly good. I think they kind of took something that was new, maybe assumed that everybody else was going to figure it out, and therefore went back to the conventional system. I kind of wish they would have stuck with it, because Kaczynski's numbers on the right haven't been very good. Micheletto and Lavier were both totally fine in this one, by the way. Very few errors.
I just think that he's just not there to be serve receiving anymore, especially when you look at Lavia and Micheletto. Like, both of those are 2 guys who might be like top 5 serve receivers right in the world in terms of just touch and consistency. And I don't think Kaczynski had that ever, and I don't know if he has it anymore. And I mean, Kaziski, if you look at it one way or another, he's terminating the rally, right?
You got that right.
he got 16 kills and got
10 errors.
10 errors if you're counting blocks, but also 5 aces in this one, which is absolutely huge. He got he got 5 of the 6 aces that Trentino got in this match. So that's absolutely massive. He's a weapon whenever he goes back to the baseline.
Yeah, this match didn't end up being all that significant. It was really good. Like, it was really good. The set scores were very, very tight until the 5th when Milano kind of laid down and died, but didn't end up changing all that much in terms of standings placement.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. All right, moving on. Verona versus Modena, and as we talked about, Verona starting absolutely lights out, and they had Shaposhkov on the right side, Keita with who commentated this match? It's actually someone I like. It's the guy from the Sandcast. Why can't Travis Merriweather?
Oh, he did indoor? Cool.
Yeah, he's been doing some indoor stuff recently, but he was calling him Cato. It was just frustrating me so much. So, Travis, if you're listening to this, you're probably not. Love your commentating. Just call up Rob about some pronunciation stuff, because Rob knows what's up. But yeah, Shaposhkov in this one, 24 for 49. He had 2 aces and got blocked and 3 blocks. Was fantastic in the first 2, lights out, but then really disappeared as the match went on. I was wondering if we were going to see
them shift Keita to the right and bring Magalini in. I am a little bit surprised that they didn't do that.
Yeah, no, I'm a little surprised as well too, but you know, hey, that's what happened. But Verona,
question, how was Verona's reception? Bad. Really bad. 23% positive as a team is so bad.
And I found what really happened in the first 2 sets is that Modena was just putting no pressure on from the baseline, right? And they were just not good. You could tell that they are out of sorts for a little bit, because truly, when you were watching this match, Dragan Stankovic, Daddy, was the absolute best player on the court. And I mean, at the end of the day, he was 9 for 14 with 4 blocks. So he was pretty lights out. But this is what is so special, I think, about Modena, is because of the experience that they have on this team. They just know how to get it going, and they know how to pick up a little bit momentum. And that's exactly what we saw until the 5th set, when everything kind of fell apart.
Yeah, nice comeback effort. Got to give Adis Lagumja a huge shout out. He was amazing. 17 for 32, no errors at all, 21 points. That's amazing. Yeah. The roller coaster ride of Verona continues. I mean, they've won 5 in a row, but when you dig into it a little bit more about how they're winning these games and what's kind of happening into these matches, it's still not really, I don't know what's the word, secure or convincing. I'm not convinced by Verona. I still think that they're fragile. I still think that Stoichkov can't make up his mind on how he wants the wings to go. I think that Gord Perrin leaving mid-season is an underratedly huge loss. I would be happily surprised if Verona won a playoff series, because I really like this team. I think they're really fun to watch when they're clicking, but the lows are a little too low and happen a little too often.
Yeah. And I mean, right now it's really too early to figure out what's going to happen. I mean, if you're looking at, if you can pull up the standings real quick, if you're looking at, positions 4 through 8, there's only 5 points separating them. And I know that you've only got two matches remaining, but still that could happen so much. Milano could potentially end up all the way in 4th. Lube, if they don't win their matches, could end up all the way down in 8th. So yeah, there's so much movement there potentially. And realistically, when I look at all of those teams from Lube, even down to Cisterna, although Cisterna, are they statistically out yet?
Oh no. I mean, if they win their next 2, they've got a great chance. They've got Piacenza, then Verona, and those are both must-win games for Cisterna. I think if they lose even one of them, they're probably dead.
Yeah, I think so as well. Let's look at some of the matchups just to figure out, because there's a lot of different scenarios here. Okay, Trentino's taking on Padova and Modena. Okay, so that Modena versus Padova.
Modena, yeah.
Yeah. So that one's going to be really interesting, because you like that is going to determine realistically who's finishing in second and who's going to get ultimately who's probably going to get home court advantage in the semifinal round
when they probably play again.
when they probably play again.
Yeah.
Exactly. Piacenza is in a good spot though. I know they lost Leal, but they have Cisterna and they have Padova. So that's going to be interesting for them. They don't have Leal, but they do have Lucarelli coming back nicely. So that could be a factor.
But the thing about that is maybe they don't even want to move up from where they are. 6th is actually a really good spot. You don't want to be 4 or 5. You certainly don't want to be 8 because that requires playing Perugia. If you're 4 or 5, you're playing Perugia in the second round. If you're 8, you're playing Perugia in the first round. Nobody wants any of those things. 6 and 7 are pretty good spots. And Piacenza with 2 very winnable games coming up. I wonder if people try and game the system a little bit to try and stay 6 and 7. It's by the show 2 weeks from now, like after the next match is played and there's only one match to go. I think those scenarios will be a little bit more clear, but you better believe that people are looking at those bracket matchups and trying to avoid playing Perugia.
100%. But I would want to play Modena. I would not want to play Trentino. Right. Trentino's shown time and time again that they have this like when you look at the success overall, like with that roster, like Lavia and Micheletto and Spertoli even have won a European championship, have won a world championship, have been to Champions League finals, have been to, I don't know if they've been to the Scudetto finals. Did they go last year?
No,
they didn't. But still, like that's a team that knows how to win. And I wouldn't want to play them. I would want to play Modena, right?
Yeah,
because
I'll take Modena. I agree.
Right, absolutely, right. If I'm any of these teams, I want to be on the other side of the net of Modena. I do not want to be on the other side of the net of Trentino because Trentino is a team that is going to be able to turn it on in the quarters and the semis for sure.
Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be very, very interesting. So much movement. 2 matches left in the Superlega regular season, which is crazy that we're already here, but the only one this weekend is the Siena versus Lube makeup game.
Yeah, because we will have Italian Cup semis going down for the men. We will talk about that in a second because right now we are going to jump over to the Lega Volley Femminili, who are a little bit further back. And man, this playoff race, we're talking about playoff races at the bottom, is a big one. Firenze picking up a big win in 5, and they can continue to be perfect since adding Malinov. We see Novara continue to plummet. They lose 3-1 to Chieri. Other than that, I think everything was pretty much. Busto as well, getting a nice 3-0 win over Bergamo. That was big with Rosa Maria going off in that one. Where do you want to start with this one, Rob?
I kind of want to start at the bottom with Pinerolo beating Perugia because that has a lot of effect on relegation.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, let's do that.
Let's look at the standings too. So getting close. I can't remember who Perugia beat the week before. They beat somebody. They beat Casa Maggiore out of nowhere. They had like a random 3-0 win over a playoff team, and it looked like that they were going to save themselves from relegation, and then they go out and promptly lose and give up 3 points to one of the teams that's chasing them. So we don't need to dig into the stats of that match at all. I just thought that it was interesting in the effects that it'll have on the relegation race. You've got 12, 10, and 7 points at the bottom right now. One of those 3 teams will get relegated for sure, but there's still plenty of time. Other than that, like matches that are actually good, I kind of want to look at Chieri versus Novara, see what happened in those stats. Like that's a big hangover game for Novara after beating VakifBank in Champions League.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, we're seeing once again, Karakurt was just all right. No, actually, she was pretty bad. 12 kills, 9 errors.
Ouch.
Right. And that is, you know what? And when you're giving as much, and I mean, it was just an error-laden day in general for Novara, and really not the same thing on the other side for Chieri. I mean, 15 points for Rosansky, 17 for Grabelna, 12 for Casalte. Like Chieri is a team that's, really coming on nicely at point, Novara continue to fall. They're now into 5th, and this could be that 4-5 matchup in the playoffs. And that win is massive for Chieri because they now leapfrog over Novara and hold home court advantage over them.
That is a great point. Very easily could be the 4-5 matchup. And okay, we got the standings up. Look at these, man. It's so tight. Busto Arcitio jumps up into 6th, but a 3-way tie in points, 6th, 7th, and 8th are all 9 and 10. They all have 28 points. That's ridiculous. Firenze, like you said, is chasing. They actually just won today. There was a weird Tuesday match. They beat Cuneo in 5.
That was today, that match against Cuneo. And where are my stats for that one?
Yeah, the Novara stats aren't loading for me on the website right now. Something wrong with the Lega Volley Femminile website. I don't know.
Yeah, both Nuakalor and Britt Herbots with 21 points in this one. But if you look at the Cuneo sides, 25 for Kuznetsova, 22 for Gikel, and 24 for Szakmari. So that one looked like it was a barn burner. Man, I wish I would have watched that because it looked like it was toe-to-toe all the way to the end. 17-15 in the 5th for Firenze. Wow, that's
a lot of scoring, man. It's a lot of volleyball.
Yeah, a lot of volleyball. And I mean, if there might have kept Cuneo alive, but I think their playoff hopes are dead. And or Valfolia's at this point, they're 6 points behind Firenze for that last spot. But man, Firenze, that's a team that I don't know if anyone wants to go up against. Like, you have 2 big scorers in Brits Herbots and Nuakalor. They've won 5 in a row since the addition of Malinov, and that's a team that's absolutely rolling by now.
Firenze does look better. You've been higher on them this whole season than I have. I think Britt Herbots is awesome, but I do think they're a little too one-dimensional still. I'm disappointed in Valafolia. I really thought that when they picked up Annie Drews, they would start playing significantly better, but they've lost 4 of their last 5. They've lost to all these pretty beatable teams. Their only win recently was against Pinerolo. They've had a difficult schedule. They had Corneliano Scandici, Busto. Probably should win that one. Malonza, you can win that one. But yeah, they are running out of time after making a couple mid-season moves to try and make the playoffs. It hasn't really gone that way for them.
No, it hasn't. And I mean, it doesn't get any easier. They take on Firenze, the team that they trail in the standings on Saturday.
Followed by Bergamo, followed by Casalmaggiore. Like, all those teams right there in the middle competing for the same things.
Yeah, absolutely. Bergamo was another team that struggled. None of their players getting into double-digit points this weekend. Not a really good look for them, whereas Rosa Maria had 20 on today, or in this one, with no errors. And I mean, this was a team that was really struggling start of the season in the basement, and Carly Lloyd has really picked that team up. And you kind of knew that she was coming off, she hasn't really been playing, had a kid, but she's been looking really good. And Busto continues to move up. And if we look at the matches coming up, there's some spicy matches in Lega Volley Femminile this weekend. First and foremost, Malonza taking on Scandici in Malonza.
That match.
That one's going to be a big match. You've got the 2 versus the 3, so that's going to be huge. Chieri against Busto. That one's also going to be massive. Busto, I don't think any of those bottom 3-4 teams can catch Novara or Chieri. Actually, maybe, because the women's, I think the women's have
they play 26 matches, so they've got 7 left.
They've still got 7.
That's a decent amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Tirada, it's cool, whatever. That's going to be two basement teams. Bergamo against Perugia. Bergamo needs that win because they're holding on to that final spot. Canigliano against Pinerolo, whatever. And then Novara against Casalmaggiore. And Casalmaggiore on a bit of a losing skid here after losing their past 3. They need a win. And I mean, we've looked at what Bergamo just lost a big one. They also need a win. So a lot of must wins right now in the Lega Volley Femminile, as we still have 7 matches left in the season.
Yep. Plenty of them. They're all going on basically at the same time on Sunday. But the real match that you're probably going to want to watch on Sunday in Italy, Everett, is this. We got the Copa Italia men's final. So we'll talk about this. We'll talk about the Polish Cup. Both Semifinals going down on Saturday, both finals going down on Sunday. The men's Coppa Italia is in Rome. I think you made this point one time, Everett, and I agreed that the Coppa Italia is the cup tournament in your country, whatever country it is kind of the biggest like single event domestically. It really gets a lot of domestic eyes, domestic attention, sponsors, big production, TV, the whole thing, and then that goes for every country in Europe, but definitely the Coppa Italia in Italy. Playing at a big arena in Rome, should be some great matches. Perugia versus Piacenza is one semifinal. Trentino versus Milano is the other semifinal. You remember Milano upset Lube. Everything else was pretty much chalk. So Perugia versus Piacenza is Saturday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Trentino Milano is Saturday, noon Eastern. And then the finals are Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern, the winner of those two games. So all that on Volleyball World TV. I'm stoked to see this. Obviously, Perugia's the favorite. Everett, do you think they add another Infinity Stone to the gauntlet?
Yes, I do. I truly do. I mean, I do think that it's going to be pretty easy for both them and Trentino to get past. I mean, we did see an epic, wasn't it last year in the playoffs where we saw Trentino and Milano go toe-to-toe in the quarterfinals? And then we just saw an epic five-setter. So those are two teams that really match up nicely against one another, but I do expect Trentino to take it, especially now Perugia versus Piacenza, especially now with the loss of Leal.
Yeah.
I don't think that one's even worth it to watch. And I mean, hey, if you're going to watch anything at that hour in the morning, might as well watch Zavierci versus ZAKSA that starts at 45 minutes before. So I to be honest, I think that there's way more intrigue in the Polish Cup than there is in the Del Monte.
I agree with you. So let's talk about that one. The Polish Cup, exact same thing. This is being played in Krakow, big event. Zawiercie versus ZAKSA is one semifinal. That's Saturday morning, 8:45 a.m. Eastern. Jastrzębski versus Resovia is Saturday at noon Eastern, and then the finals are on Sunday. That, I agree. I do not know how to pick that tournament. I do not know. I would pick ZAKSA over Zawiercie, but JW versus Resovia is a toss-up.
Yeah, 100%. Just because of recency bias, we saw ZAKSA beat Zawiercie in the Champions League. They would have won the other game if it wasn't for they just needed it. And you could tell that both of these teams were setting up for the Polish Cup, because as soon as ZAKSA won that game, the benches went on. Man, even Eric Shoji didn't even play for ZAKSA. And I mean, usually libero, not saying that it's the easiest spot in the court. That's not at all what I'm saying, Eric. Don't get mad at me, please. But it's not the most physically physically the hardest. You're not jumping all that much. So they're getting ready for this one. I would expect ZAKSA, but man, JW against Resovia. JW was a team early in the season that I thought might go undefeated. They looked so damn good. They've cooled off since then. Resovia currently the top team in the Plus Liga. I think that one's going to be a banger. And you can check that one out at noon Eastern time on Saturday. Just as you said, Rob, who are you going to pick in that one?
Ooh, I think this might be the time in the year when the Resovia curse starts to strike. I think that this year has been going a little bit too well for them. I love TJ DeFalco. Obviously, he's had an MVP caliber season. I do not trust Maciej Muzaj. I do not trust Fabian Żyżga in a big moment. I think I'm going to have to go with Jastrzębski, which was set up for another JW versus ZAKSA final, which would be electric. I mean, that's what we've seen, but the road to get there, I think, is going to be more interesting than the last, let's see, ZAKSA has won 3 Polish Cups in a row going into this one. So I think it'll be more dramatic than that. You really could make a case for any of the 4 teams. I do think ZAKSA will beat Zawiercie, and I think this might be the time when Resovia starts to crumble just a little bit with some big moments and big expectations.
I always like to look at setters in this situation, because setters are just like quarterbacks in football, and they're the linchpin of your team. I have no confidence in Fabian Żyżka. I never have. He got lucky by winning. Did he even win a world? No, he didn't even win a world championship.
No, he was the starting setter on both of those 14 and 18 teams, but.
I don't know if he wasn't. I don't know if he wasn't for. We look at that later. I think you're right for 18 still. I do believe that in Benjamin Antonitti, right? I know that he's a winner, and I know that he's someone that can win you a match. I know that this JW team has struggled, But Boyer was pretty good in their last match, a 3-0 win over Lviv. He was 10 for 19, only 21% efficiency, so that's not fantastic.
Yikes. That's not good at all.
So it's really going to come down to how good, like to me, it's going to be how good the setters play and how good the right side plays for either one of those teams. And we're going to have to see it.
Both streaky, potentially error-prone right sides in Boyer and Muzai.
Yeah. Oh. But neither of them Trevicha can set because they're just way too high for him. You know, that's essentially how it is.
Could be a huge offensive clinic. Could be a little bit of a sloppy nightmare. Regardless, I think it's going to be really fun. So, yeah, both Polish Cup and Italian Cup will be decided on Sunday. We'll see if Perugia adds another Infinity Stone to the gauntlet. We'll see if who takes it in Poland. And more cup action, right? Because we had the French Cup quarterfinals today. Is that right?
Yeah. Real quick though, just about the Plusliga. Not as easy to watch as the Superlega and the Copa Italia.
Right.
So you're gonna have to come onto the Discord and ask some people for some live stream links for that one, because that one is going to be a little tough to watch.
Fortunately for you, that is what the Discord is for. So if you haven't
100%.
already joined the Volleyball Source Discord, you're crazy. Well over 1,000 members. The link is in the description. Also, let's see. We've had some good viewership numbers on this episode so far, but only 15 likes. Let's get that number up a little bit.
Yeah, but got to be better for us.
Hit the thumbs up, boys and girls. We see you all in the chat, by the way. The chat's getting a little more active. Love to see it.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, one other thing about Cup. We did see the quarterfinals of the French Cup today, and man, the results were kind of all over the place. Saint-Nazaire, which has been one of the strongest teams all year long, falling 3-0 to Narbonne. That was a massive upset in my eyes anyways. Otherwise, we see Tours take down Montpellier easy. I mean, Tours is leading the league, so that's no surprise there. Poitiers going toe-to-toe with Sète, and I'm pretty sure Derek Epp was injured in that one because he was dressed as the libero for Sète. Yeah, and unfortunately, I think it was Kyle Russell got 20 points for Sète in the loss in that one. Is that 20 points for Sète in the loss.
Good to see him playing well.
Yeah, absolutely. Efficiency not that great. He was 16 for 43, but with 5 errors and got blocked 6 times. But good on Poitiers and Jack Howe for getting that win. The one result that I want to look at there is Nice versus Ajaccio up at the top, and Rob and I were talking about it. Fortunately, some matches don't only half of them do, but Nice is where Stephen Marshall's playing, and he got subbed in on the right side in the second set, which is also what he had to do this past weekend in league play. And then in late in the third, their middle hurt his shoulder. So they didn't have any other middle. So Stephen Marshall, who's 6 foot on the roster, let's put it this way. He's 6 foot on the roster. Now we've seen him play right side before. Rob definitely has nightmares back of 2015 when Canada beat the US back at the Grand Champions Cup.
I remember that match very well.
And Stephen Marshall, he wasn't the MVP, but it was given to Dan Lewis, and everyone Dan Lewis handed it to Stephen Marshall upon walking back to the line because he was unreal. He ended up lining up in the middle and went 5 for 5 attacking in the win for Nice. They were playing Ajaccio. Ajaccio is a League B team. And they upset Paris to get there, but still big ups for Stephen Marshall. And I was talking to him a little bit earlier, and he goes, "Yeah, and our setter just got hurt too, so I might be setting this weekend. I don't even know." I love
that so much. One of the great utility players in the game. Yeah, actually, I think that was the first Volleyball Source video I ever watched. I think it was the baseline camera from that 5-setter against the United States in Detroit in 2015. I think that was the first Volleyball Source video I ever watched.
That weekend was the first baseline videos we ever did,
and
I did it on a little camcorder, and it was a little fun. I remember watching the numbers just go off from that, and I was kind of like, "Boo!"
We might have something here.
Yeah, we might have something there. Exactly that. Rob, before we get to the VLA, there is one piece of news that I wanted to talk about. That I meant to put in the show notes on the weekend, and I completely didn't. But we have some NCAA women's news that is only relevant because the Kentucky Wildcats have picked up a brand new associate head coach, none other than Mr. Ben Josephson himself. So big ups to Ben Joe getting that very coveted NCAA job. I do know that that's something that he was looking at before. He got screwed over by Volleyball Canada. So man, that is a huge pickup for that Kentucky program. And just want to give out a shout to let's say friend of the show. We've never had him on the show, but
we've had him on the channel. We've had him on the channel. That's close enough.
Oh yeah, we've had him on the channel a lot. I know you loved hanging out with him and getting to know him on the weekend, or not on the weekend. Over the course of Nations League last summer. So yeah, just a big congratulations for Ben Joe for picking up a massive job in the NCAA. And yeah,
Kentucky's a good program. He's gonna do well there. They won a national championship just a couple years ago, and the SEC is kind of weaker, top heavy at best, and so yeah, he's going to be successful. I'm curious to see him in the women's game. That'll be cool. So yeah, congrats to Ben Joe.
Funnily enough, he's going to be coaching against Tom Black, who he coached with for a summer with the Canadian women's national team back in 2019. He coached with Tom Black in 2019. So yeah, big move there by Ben Joe.
A lot of coaching movement right about now. Another European Cup that we got to talk about that I forgot. German Cup final is Sunday as well. That is
sick.
Berlin against Düren, 8 a.m. Eastern German Cup final on Sunday. So giving out some hardware.
Yeah, that one will not be on Bounce House TV. That one's
really
on, like, Sport. Yeah, it's going to be on like Sport 1 or something like that. Like it's going to be on the national channel. That's what they usually do with the cup.
Okay,
or I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so we'll have links for that over on the Volleyball Source website. Also, big shout out to Joe, who has just been absolutely killing it recently. Like if you guys seriously, if you guys want to find live streams, head over to the volleyballsource.ca because Joe has been absolutely killing it. Any free live streams, and I think we're gonna upgrade it to anyone that we can find a VPN for now. Because yeah, we did get a little bit of a code from NordVPN. So once you click on our link with NordVPN, it'll give us a bit of a kickback.
Interesting. Very nice. Yeah, the Volleyball Source website has been overhauled. It is great. It is a very good source for live streams. So definitely give that a shot.
I wouldn't say it's overhauled. It's still pretty ugly, but Joe is doing a much better job at posting on it and keeping updated than I ever did.
Content. It is full of content, and that is great. And and Joe is just like a friend of ours who's joined the Discord, has been an active member of the community forever, and she offered to help, and Everett put her to work, which is great. And we'll do the same thing for anybody else who wants to do media, who wants to do research for the show, who wants to do just about anything. If you have a skill set you think would be useful to us, let us know, and we will find space for you to help us grow some of the things we're doing around here.
We are still looking for like a show producer, someone to help us clip things out and help us make some vertical content for TikTok and for Instagram Reels with the show. So if you have that skill set or want to learn that skill set, that'd be awesome. I do want to. This is like almost like a misconnections from Craigslist, but there's someone who messaged me a while ago, like over the holidays, and he said he was from the South, and he was just like, I'd love to help. And I was like, absolutely. And I put his contact somewhere and I completely lost it. So if this sounds like you, contact me again, please. Because I was literally searching through the Discord today because I know he posted in the Discord, and I was like, where was this? But there's just so much, it's so hard to look through it if you don't know someone's name or something like that. So if that sounds like you, reach out to us, please.
All right. Last but not least, Everett, let's turn our attention stateside just a little bit. Last weekend was the third weekend in a row of VLA action. So Volleyball League of America, very, very busy right about now. This is in Phoenix. I was not there, but I was watching, and there were very good games. Pretty heated West Division rivalry between the Phoenix Ascension and the SoCal Rising Tide. Ascension goes 4-0 on the weekend, beating Rising Tide twice. Both 5-setters, both 15-13 in the fifth. So spicy matches there. And because the West Division only has 2 teams in Tier 1. We brought in the West Coast Brigade out of Costa Mesa to fill that event, and they did not show particularly well. So sometimes that happens when you bring in a Tier 2 team and they're just not really ready for it. So yeah, both those teams looking good in the West. Still VLA volleyball this weekend. I'm going to Boston. I'm flying to Boston on Thursday night. Got matches Friday, Saturday. Same matchups as a couple weeks ago in Connecticut with the East Division. See if anybody can take down Team LVC, the reigning champs that look like the team to beat in the East right now. So a lot of VLA action going on. I'll be there calling the games on Friday and Saturday on the VLA channel, and which is actually kind of cool that they're Friday, Saturday. Get a little Friday night primetime games and then clear the stage for all those cup finals that are going on Saturday or Sunday.
Fair enough. Can we jump back to this weekend's matches, because like wasn't Rising Tide at the top of the standings before like weren't they undefeated at the top of the standings after the SoCal Cup?
Yes, they were. And so I'm glad you brought up the standings. So those were their first 2 losses of the season. They did get a point. They did get a point from each of them. Both 5 setters, both narrow. But the nice thing about what the Rising Tide has done is because they won that tournament, the first tiebreaker before points, matches won, before any of that, the first tiebreaker in the VLA is cup tournament wins. So because the Rising Tide have won a tournament, they won the West Division Cup a couple weeks ago, they have already clinched a playoff spot, and they're playing pretty much with house money the rest of the regular season. They can do basically whatever they want in those regular season events. So the fact that, I mean, they went 2-2 with 8 points, that's pretty good. That's the most points you could possibly get with only 2 wins. That's not going to bother them at all. Their focus is on the VLA Cup, try and win that tournament, and then the championship, the Tier 1 championship later on in the summer. They're set to go until then because of that one win. They were really good for one weekend, and that's going to put them in great position for the rest of the season. So kind of a quirk of how the format works, where the number of tournaments that you win, those 4 tournaments that we have in the season, that's the first tiebreaker in the rankings.
Well, I love that because it's almost similar to like points in like a ranking system, like an international points system, which is we've thrown out the door completely with the FIVB, which is why Cuba is so damn high when all they've beat is like Mexico, Puerto Rico, and Qatar this year. So, and Russia's still in there. So yeah, I like the fact that, wins matter, but also winning a tournament matters, because I think winning a tournament, but so do you have like the secondary tiebreaker as being like a tournament win because they technically won this set of or is this not considered a tournament? This is just matches.
Yeah. So this sort of event, like when we have 3 teams and they play a double round robin, that's not a tournament. That's just regular season play. That's where we get the teams from that division into a convention center. In this case, a great event, the Volleyball Festival in Phoenix with all the juniors there. That's just regular season play. There are 4 tournaments. There's the divisional cups, West, East, and Central. Central's coming up in Chicago in 2 weeks. And then there's the big one, the VLA Cup. And so if you win one of those 4 tournaments, that counts as the standings as one of the tiebreakers. After that, it's standings points the way that we're used to doing them. But in the Tier 1 level, it's points per match played. We have to divide by number of matches played because of those tournament formats. All those matches in the tournaments count for like your regular season points. But there's no guarantee that all the teams are going to play the same number of matches, because you get 8 in the regular season, then you play your divisional cup and the VLA Cup, and there's no guarantee that the teams are going to play the same number of games. So we divide the points by the number of matches that you've played. That's the tiebreaker after number of cup tournaments that you've won. So that's how that works.
All right. Interesting. Sorry. And can we jump back forward to this weekend in Boston? That's the East Cup.
Not East Cup, just more East regular season.
Just more East regular season. Okay.
Yep.
I'm starting to catch on now. Yeah, Team LVC. They're definitely the favorites heading into this one. Maybe Force can win a match.
That would be great. Force did take LVC to 5 a couple weeks ago and got a point from it. But yeah, Force is winless. Boston Bounce is kind of middle of the pack, but they've got home field advantage this weekend. I'm looking forward to going to Boston, and I'm looking forward to getting to explore the city a little bit. That'll be cool. And then
Boston, I love Boston.
Boston's cool. Then next weekend is the Central Division Cup in Chicago, which is a massive tournament. 20 teams.
Ooh, 20. Dang.
So I'll be a busy boy for that one, but that's a home game for me. So I'm looking forward to that very much. A lot of good stuff with the VLA. I think Vince and I are going to do an episode of our talk show tomorrow night. Volleyball League of America YouTube channel for all this stuff.
All right, cool. I've actually got a couple of podcasts coming up tomorrow. I'm going to be talking to Dylan Mortensen of the Saskatchewan Huskies. He just surpassed, he just basically set the record in the Canada West for most kills and most points all time.
Whoa.
So big ups to him. Absolutely. Just past Tyler Schmidt of MRU. So he did that in the last regular season game of the season. So I'm going to talk to Dylan Mortensen. I've been talking to a lot of Saskatchewan Huskies recently. It's kind of nice. So that should be a good one. And then on Thursday, it's going to be a big week for the podcast as well, as I'm going to be talking to none other than Mr. Eric Lepke. So that one's going to be a really good one too. Of course, he's been playing fantastic with Toronto this year. He's the highest scoring left side in the Superlega this season, just having a massive bounce back year. So it's going to be fun to talk to Eric, and maybe we can get his insight on what he thought about Benjo signing with Kentucky.
Ooh, that would be nice to know some of that information. I mean, Eric's married to an American NCAA setter alum as well. So there's some NCAA connections in that family. Maybe we can get some spicy details.
Yeah. Also, one other thing, just want to give just a quick shout out or disclaimer almost. If you're in the GT area, I'm going to be setting up some Volleyball Source runs. I've secured a venue out in Pickering, which is going to be awesome. It's called the Jungle Courts. Make sure to go check them out. It's a really dope venue. Just going to be one court. And over the next few months, I'm going to be setting up some runs. And to be honest, I only want the best of the best, right? So if you think that's you and you're in the GTA, if you're, at this point, we're looking for men's league players. So if you're a retired, U Sports or CCAA player, maybe you played some pro and you're watching this. If we're friends and I haven't reached out to you yet, I'm sorry. But definitely get in touch with me because, we're going to be looking at setting up some runs. I'm going to set up the camera at the baseline. I'll also have a mic and I'll be chirping in it the entire time. It's going to be a good time. So make sure you contact me, whether it's on if you know me, then on my personal Instagram or the Volleyball Source Instagram or via the Discord. We might actually, if we need a referee, we might actually get two Jacks to come out too.
What a legend.
And make some bad calls. So it should be a good one. So if you guys are around, if you're around the GTA, definitely shoot me a line because ideally we'd like to get some stuff going on. Scarborough Men's League is all right, but let's get some high level stuff, and I want to start commentating again and get some more content up on the Volleyball Source YouTube. Although I will be at some OUA quarterfinals this weekend as well. So
very nice.
Yes.
We're both busy dudes. We're all over the place in our respective countries.
Yeah, 100%. So I think that's it for this week's show. This was a long one, almost an hour and a half, but that's what happens at this point in the season. So much going on. Make sure to join us on the Discord. That's the number one place to follow everything this weekend. Make sure to head over to thatvolleyball.store and pick yourself up something nice. Treat yourself. Why not? Treat someone you love. Some great stuff out there. And make sure to watch some volleyball this weekend, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. Same time, same place next Tuesday. Enjoy all this, all the cup action this weekend. We'll see you in the Discord, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Peace, guys.